All right, so you guys are thinking of new ways to improve your business during this crisis, and maybe you've started to open up. You've seen a surge in people coming back. Maybe it's started to fall off. Is there a correction that's happening in the industry right before our very eyes? Is curbside the new thing? Is dining in going to come back? All those questions, we're going to try to answer those today. My name is Paul Barron, and this is the Barron Report. All right, so today I had a chance to get a new company, or a company, I guess they've been around for a while, with some new tech that is really kind of unique. And with me today, I've got Tasso Roumeliotis, who is with a company called Numa. And I want to welcome you to the show, Tasso. Thanks for stopping in.
Of course, thanks for having me.
So Numa is, in essence, it's a text-based company for order placement. Talk to me a little bit about how the technology works. What is the core of how it works for a restaurant operator? How can they use it?
Yeah, so we started the company by wanting to effectively text-enable businesses and restaurants, because most millennials and people would rather text a business than call. When we went to our first few customers, they said, "Hey, we want somebody to help us answer the phone for inbound orders during lunch and dinner time, which is when the vast majority of the orders come in. And we're not able to pick up those phones because we're serving customers, especially in a quick service business. So what we said is, what if we answered the phone call for you, texted the customer back, showed them the menu, processed the order, and printed right to your kitchen so you can process the order, and then send the customer notification of when it's going to be ready, all via text interaction without you as a restaurant having to pick up the phone or hire somebody to do it for you." And that ended up being the real core application of Numa in the restaurant space. So we have many restaurants that actually have stopped picking up their phones and are depending on Numa to process their orders. And obviously in today's world where people aren't kind of taking their food and sitting indoors and eating, in many restaurants, and I'll get to it later, are using our service to run their operations exclusively through us.
Interesting. So is it part call center, and then essentially the call center is then taking that with some technology and then obviously sending back that data to the customer instantaneously? Is that how it works?
Well, so think of it this way. You have a phone number, and most businesses have kept their landline numbers because think of it as the lowest common denominator way for a customer to reach you. They can always call you, right? That's still should always work. So, but that phone number, these landline numbers are not textable. So the first thing we'll do for a restaurant is we'll make that landline number textable. That's kind of magic, because if you call and the restaurant's not picking up, you don't want to leave a voicemail. And if somebody calls you back, you don't pick up typically in today's world. So what we'll do is we'll say, we don't pick up the phone, but we actually will interact with you via texting. So text back, which over 50% of customers end up doing that. So the restaurant will then send a message back, automated by us. They don't have to have anybody do it, and it'll ask the caller, if you want to place an order, just text order. So I would text order, which is the vast majority of the case. We're talking about 80% of these calls coming in are for people who want to place an order. And then from there, we will show you the menu. You pick what you want, you pay for it. And what's happening is, think of it as a messaging service, like you're using WhatsApp or Facebook Messenger, but applied to the restaurant. So the restaurant think of it as a WhatsApp, but for messaging with your customers and order taking. So it's really seamless. It's not an overly complicated system, and it prints right to your kitchen. And then from there, we can continue communicating with the customer, including curbside.
So I'm kind of curious, the technology you guys are using, if I've got a standard landline, because I've seen voice over IP with companies like Grasshopper who do, digital phone numbers that do have the textability. And we've seen that in this space, being the restaurant industry, where, restaurants are opting for companies like a Grasshopper or those who can take an inbound text. How do you do that with a landline? But yet you're still maintaining the same phone number. Is that correct?
Yeah, you're maintaining the same phone number. And yes, some folks like Grasshopper, a text capability on top of their core phone service. We'll take any phone service effectively, at an AT&T landline service or Verizon or whoever else it might be, and we will take that number, and the number has not been kind of registered, claim that on behalf of the business. So now we make it instantly textable. So that's one of the first things that we do for you. I'm going to get with your voicemail as well. So if somebody does leave you a voicemail, you're able to see it in a messaging product and respond back to that particular customer.
So the automation setup, I guess, from a standpoint of the order itself, does the operator have to do anything on your service, or do you scrape the menu right off their website, integrate it into your system, and that's the queue for being able to send back a text to the customer where they can place an order right there from the menu? Does it come in like a text, or does it give me a link to a remote website or some other digital format for the menu?
Yeah, it's a good question. Initially, we said, "Oh, what if people want to type in that I want a cheeseburger with extra
Right.
bacon and mayo?" And that's not really the way people order. People want to be able to
Sure.
select from a menu. So what we do is we'll start the message exchange. If you do want to order, we'll send you a link to a menu that we've worked with the restaurant to construct. So it's an easy form for a restaurant to incorporate their menu into it, and we have all the information, including pricing. And then you just process from this website, which is very seamless from your text exchange, what you
Gotcha.
want. You can pay for it, and then we'll communicate back to you when the order is ready.
Yeah. How does the payment, I guess the payment transaction, how's that handled? Are you going through a separate gateway, or does that integrate into the merchant service that the restaurant company already has? How does that process occur?
So, I mean, we take the credit card payment and then we process it into the restaurant's POS.
All right, so you're just landing into the POS,
That's
then
right.
submitting payments back to
That's right.
the restaurant for. How quickly would a restaurant get their payments for their online orders today?
I mean, that's all. We are integrated into the POS, so however quickly the POS processes.
So it's
it.
instantaneous.
So
It's
it's
strictly.
instantaneous. Yep, that's right.
So you're using the same merchant is the point I was getting. Okay, great.
Yeah, effectively, yeah.
Yeah, so it's a pass-through technology. Very cool. I like that, and the fact that you've got the ability to get into that text component. So really, I guess for you guys, the competitors are the online ordering itself, where someone has to physically go to a website, select that process, go through that merchant, checkout and the cart, place the order, and then go pick it up. Yours is a little faster, a little bit simpler and easier. Are you finding that convenience factor as being one of the key selling points for you guys?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because what's happening is, especially in today's world, a lot of customers don't know if the restaurant is actually even open, and what are the
Mhm.
hours. Their hours are changing. Everything is so dynamic that there's a
Right.
lot of outreach to restaurants to figure out the situation. Do you still have the same things on the menu? So when they call and we're able to not just process order, but answer a bunch of these questions: Are you still open? What are your new hours? Do you still have these things on the menu? The restaurant can actually answer those questions directly via messaging with
Mhm.
customers, and then from there you can do the order processing. So we're seeing a lot more inbound communication, more reach
Mhm.
outs to these restaurants to figure out all of those questions.
Yeah, so their call loads have gone up. Obviously, of course, they do have a little bit more capability within a restaurant now. I was talking to an operator this week who has kind of repositioned some of his staff because they have a lot less load in terms of dining. People coming in, and this is a fast casual concept, so they just don't have as many tables. Obviously, don't have as many people doing cleanup. You don't have as many people being able to have to do. Most of it is dealing with online orders, or curbside. If you look at kind of where the landscape is today, fast casual, QSR, casual dining, everybody's somewhat shifted, at least the survivors have somewhat shifted to this movement toward curbside, takeout, pickup, third-party delivery. Where do you see this going in the next year? Do you feel like we're going to continue on this path, or do you think we're going to see some correction in the market?
So that there's a lot of questions in there, and I think so the first thing I'll say is that the third-party delivery services, the UberEats and the DoorDashes and the
Yep.
GrubHubs, all of those folks, you talk to any restaurant and you talk to as many as anybody, you will know that those are not sustainable platforms for them to be
Sure.
able to run their businesses. Those are negative gross margins. I mean, people are taking 15 to 30% of the total sale on a
Right.
business where the net margin is 5%. Those are negative. That's like running all your customers off of a Groupon platform where you're
No,
losing on
it's
every single one on
terrible.
the market. So it's
Yeah.
terrible. And there's been lots of really smart, kind of influential people that have raised this as a big concern. So what restaurants are realizing is there's a new normal, and that means that people still want to eat. We still want to eat as humans. We still need it. I still like your food. I need another vehicle for me to get to your food. And restaurants and we're seeing it with our customers as well. They do not want you to buy on DoorDash. They want you to buy directly from them, and we want to be an enabling platform for the restaurant to be able to better serve their customers. So their margins are healthier, and they can stay in business. Our approach is we're just a flat monthly SaaS fee, and you have unlimited transactions. We don't take a per transaction fee like the other folks. So it's a classic SaaS model, which works for a restaurant. I think the other thing that restaurants we spoke to, the ownership of the customer, if you do it through UberEats, is UberEats. If you're a kind of a very popular deli, in Berkeley, California, Uber, and they see customers are buying from that, UberEats can then find another customer, another restaurant, another deli, maybe close by, and have them pay for premium placement, and then replace you effectively as a potential restaurant. Whereas if you're a restaurant, you want direct relationships with your customers. You don't have with an Uber Eats or DoorDash. You don't know who that customer is. You just know that Uber Eats wants 2 pastrami sandwiches from you. So being able to keep your economics in check and have direct customer relationships where you can develop the loyalty in today's world and be able to fulfill that in an efficient way through takeout and smart curbside, that is definitely, I think the overwhelming, and I think I agree with this opinion, is that until we get a vaccine in place, the curbside and takeout is going to be a huge, huge part of the business. What happens after that is another question. There are many thoughts. I have one opinion, but there are many thoughts that the curbside approach is something that is becoming institutionally or psychologically built into how we accept the delivery of things now. And in many ways, in the case of elderly, for example, it's a significantly superior experience. People, in some cases, it's a superior experience. For lunch, it's probably a superior experience. And I think what you'll see is that it will become a bigger part of how restaurant products are consumed than it was pre-crisis. I think it's going to become part of the new way that you expect to get delivery, get service.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I'm glad that there's more companies like yourself that are out there essentially addressing the big elephant in the room, which is third-party delivery. It has been for quite some time. And I still go back to the point is eventually these restaurants are going to figure out delivery. It's going to become an evolution in their own business. We were kind of pushed into, the front end of advancing our technology as a restaurant operator to deal with this. So I'm completely in agreement with where you're going. I'm kind of curious though, and this is a thing I've been bouncing off of a few people that I've had here on the show, because, my thought is that Uber is most likely the candidate that I think will eventually move over to a SaaS model and using the ability to still maintain their marketplace for the order inbound, but yet exchanging the data over to the restaurant. Obviously now you're marketing, so you can start picking up the ability to reach out to those guests and so on. Do you feel like that might be a product, whether it's Uber or others, that are doing marketplace technology? Because there's a few companies in the catering category and others that do this now, because marketing is a big deal. And especially in the digital front, if you can get into those, as long as you're paying a SaaS fee and you're not going, negative gross margin, that could be a big factor in kind of opening up the market. What are your thoughts on that?
I think that if I'm Uber, I've acquired the customer who wants to buy from your restaurant. I think I'm taking a piece of that transaction forever. And if you want access to that customer, because I've spent the acquisition cost to get them, on access to them, I need a piece of every single one of those transactions. I'm the market leader. I've proven out this model. This model is significantly has more upside and lucrative potential for me. And I'm a public company that's depending on earning growth. I don't think I moved to SaaS. I may be wrong, but I think I wouldn't. My core business as well is obviously kind of a usage-based model, just on the core Uber, taxi business, rideshare business, that is. So I wouldn't confuse Wall Street with a SaaS business combined with a rideshare model. I think they stick with what they have right now, which is not workable in the long run for restaurants. So I don't know where that ends up.
Yeah, well, it doesn't end up anywhere. That's the thing. The unit economics don't work. So the business model is already broken before you get out of the gate. You're still at less than 2-3% of the market share. How do you get to growth? You don't, because the restaurant industry is not going to allow those kinds of margins to be taken. So it will never make it. They will be forced to either drop Uber Eats completely to get profitable under Uber and stay in the ride sharing, providing they can even maintain the ride sharing business with what's happening in COVID, because I haven't taken an Uber and many people are already worried about that. So this is a problem that many of these companies are right in the middle of today that is going to be very interesting to watch. I'm glad that you guys are exploring the technology. I'm kind of curious. Let's talk about new tech that's coming into the marketplace for advancing up basically takeout, self-order delivery, and then obviously curbside. Do you see any kind of new technology that you're impressed with or you think could be breaking through the industry in anytime soon for restaurant operators?
Well, so I think on the curbside, there's a few things. One is kind of just a simple coordination. And a lot of folks have said, "Oh, okay, we'll do curbside right now, and we'll coordinate with the customers." And what ends up happening is you show up, and you have no way. So you end up calling the place, and they're like, "Oh, who are you again?" They have to establish your identity. They have to get your order. Is the system accessible? Then I have to tell somebody it's a train wreck. I have to tell somebody else that here's your order, and then take it. And the car is a Honda Accord, and it's out there in the parking lot somewhere. So I think it's a train wreck. It's a natural thing. People assume, oh, it's just easy. They're going to pull up and I'm going to bring it to them. And the coordination is a big issue. So while it might sound like a simple problem, it is a problem that needs the right kind of execution. So I think you're going to start seeing companies that are just going to make it just a better curbside experience where your identity is already captured with your phone number. We know your phone number based off of your order. And if you can establish an identity where that phone number is also linked to the silver Honda Accord with this license plate, then it becomes much easier. Like, oh, okay, you're this order, you're this car, and you just texted me that you've arrived, and I know that I can go give it to you. For example, those would be my simple things. Some of the more advanced technologies you're going to start to see, especially regarding kind of curbside coordination, are using location technologies on the phone. So being able to, track you as you're approaching, and we actually, you might say that I'm there, but a lot of us will fib and say, I'm there when I'm actually 5-10 minutes away, just because I don't want to be waiting. So we can truly verify that your location is there. We actually were kind of pioneers in my previous company with this, where you're creating a geofencing, and once the person has pierced the geofence, crossed into it, that can trigger making sure that the person can drop off the curbside order. So I think we're going to see a whole interesting curbside applications.
Yeah, what are your thoughts on the takeout side of it, where people do want to get out of their cars, or you're in a facility where you've got mass parking, so curbside's not necessarily an option. Most of your landlords now are pushing back against the dedicated spots. So if you have to go into a restaurant, now you're dealing with the takeout conundrum of a couple of shelves or tables over here and people grabbing in different places. Do you see that technology advancing up any in terms of the actual takeout modules, so to speak, of how people would pick up their food inside a restaurant?
Yeah. So, when we talk about curbside, we're not just actually talking about, even though it is a car applied to cars, it might just be like I'm in a dense urban area, and there's no parking really. It's just, I'm just doing takeout, but everybody's doing takeout. So there's a line, and that line of physical human being being space is really not that much different than cars being space. So I might be the guy in the red polo shirt. I'm just arriving right now, and have my order ready for me, and so I can just walk up and hand it to me. So these are the kinds of things that it's some of the similar, maybe not as complicated because you don't have the car, but similar kinds of things. You're going to start seeing people lining up for takeout versus it being kind of an ancillary business where there's really no lineup for takeout. It's going to be a little bit different. So there's still coordination
for sure. Well, that's great, and I totally agree with you. I think takeout is going to become a massive portion of our business. We could see it in the 70% range, and a lot of people kind of do double takes on that, and I keep explaining to them. And if you look at the drive-through industry and how QSR exploded across America, they did it through drive-through, and drive-through was in most cases over 70% of most of these QSR's business, and that was in an easy age. Now we're dealing with a forced scenario that's occurring, that's being inflicted upon us for other reasons. other than convenience. And I think that we could see some pretty significant things happening. Obviously, real estate's going to be another big factor. I've got to get somebody on the show to talk about real estate because that's the next major shift for restaurant operators. And I think text could be on a frontier here of really starting to blow up. So I think you guys are in the right place at the right time. Hey, I want to thank you so much for stopping in on the show today. It's been great having you.
All right. Great. Thanks for having me. Take care.
All
Paul.
right. So you guys, you bet. Absolutely. So you guys are listening in, and whether you're over on Spotify or maybe on iTunes, make sure and drop us a review. That's how we get great feedback from you. And of course, if you're on YouTube, make sure and hit the bell for notifications. That's how you get new content here from Foodable Network. And if you have a great idea, and I'm looking for someone specifically in the real estate market to really talk about what the future of restaurants are going to be doing. So if you know a real estate pro out there that could really kind of break down how this is going to play out in the next few years, send them our way. The email is producer@Foodable.tv. And of course, if you want to hit me up, you can do so on Twitter, just @Paul Barron. My name is Paul Barron. This is the Barron Report. We'll catch you next time.